everyone. This is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm joined by Alex Knapp, the writer, director, and star of Go, Don't Go. We're going to talk to Alex in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that'd be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
Adam. Adam. Adam.
They were there. They were there. And then they were gone. The idea of you is the only thing keeping me alive.
The idea of me is slowly killing you.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. So you look much more put together than in your movie. I expected maybe like a big quarantine beard, like long hair, but you look
Yeah.
very put together.
Yeah. I lived that way for a few years, and I think I had to let it go at some point. Yeah, trying to just look like a normal person again as best as I can.
So the beard is a don't go then. It's got a red X on it.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, the beard it was a go for quite a while. It was definitely a look, but yeah, trying to just kind of yeah, move on from that look a little bit right now. But yeah, quarantine, I mean, there were a few months there where it came back with a vengeance. So
Yeah, I had a really long one for a bit, and then some people in my household finally decided that it was time for it to go. So I try
yeah,
to keep
and
it a
I
little
can bear, I
sooner.
mean, what I can grow is like what you saw in the movie. It's kind of this like scraggle goat thing. So it's not the greatest, but
So awesome. So we're here to talk about Go, Don't Go. It comes out on January 12th digitally. Um, so the movie's it's tough to really tell what's going on. I'm pretty sure that was intentional, but it's kind of about like an end of the world type situation, and it's coming out kind of at the tail end of our own end of the world type situation.
yeah.
How'd that timing work out? Did it just kind of
Yeah.
naturally fall? Are you the reason that we are, in quarantine and whatnot?
I hope not. But it would be a good marketing plan. But no, it's just kind of coincidental. I mean, we shot the film a few years ago now, and really it was just about a lot of kind of different feelings that I was going through, and feelings of isolation and loneliness, and kind of holding on to a past life, and the feeling of like what could have been if things were a certain way, but also kind of coming to terms with the realization of the situation you might be in now. And a lot of that, I mean, obviously with quarantine and the pandemic, a lot of us have been kind of thrust into living like that, just kind of coincidentally. So it's kind of a serendipitous thing where the movie and some of the things that it touches on are kind of more relevant now than ever, and more relevant now than when I thought of them.
Yeah, definitely. That was something that was interesting about it is, your character is presumably the last person on Earth, and yet he kind of sticks with his traditions and his kind of routines, which I thought was kind of an interesting take. And it's actually one of the things that, has helped me through quarantine is, I've
Yeah.
tried to at least stay with my routine to kind of maintain some sense of normalcy, even though obviously this is not the same as that, but it was an interesting way to kind of, reflect and connect to people that are probably doing that and probably just trying to find some sense of their old lives in this crazy world that we're in right now.
Yeah, totally. And I think kind of humans by nature are habitual, and we're ritualistic, and we have kind of our traditions, and there are things that we do in our society that are things that kind of make us feel human and make us feel connected still to
Mhm.
society and to the community, and with Adam, there were things. It's like, yeah, he's trying to kind of maintain a sense of humanity and a sense of community, even if there isn't one. So it's like the act and ritual of going to the grocery store and picking out items and comparing ingredients and then going through the checkout line when he could just like drive a truck through the glass, take a whole shelf into the pickup truck and drive away. There's a reason why he's doing that, and it's just to kind of try to hold on to something, which is kind of a theme in the film.
Yeah, definitely. And so this was I think, if if your IMDb page is updated, this is your first time directing, which it's a very impressive movie for a first time director. It has a really nice polished quality to it that I liked, especially some of the cinematography. So what was it like taking that on, and then trying to get it trying to get it out into the world during, again, this weird time that we're in?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's my first directorial feature. I had acted in a few other indie films, and I've been directing commercials and short films and music videos and things like that for quite a while. And this was kind of just the culmination of all of those things, trying to create a larger project and kind of direct the first feature. So kind of using all of those things I had learned before, both on camera and behind the camera. And you mentioned the cinematography. I mean, my DP, Frankie Toriano, is a colleague of mine who I've been working with for like 10 years now. We went to college together. So we have kind of developed a style and a look, and this again was kind of, bringing all of that work that we had previously done together and kind of saying like, okay, well, what worked from this short film that we did, or what worked from this music video that we shot, and like, let's just do the best stuff for the feature. And then, yeah, it with quarantine and pandemic, it was pretty crazy. I mean, we shot the film a few years ago now, and we're in post-production for about a year. And then this time last year, we premiered the film for our world premiere at the San Francisco Independent Film Festival. And we were kind of kicking off our film festival run right as March happened and everything kind of shut down. And a bunch of the film festivals that we had gotten into either were canceled or postponed or went virtual. And we were pretty worried. I mean, we felt like the momentum that we were building there just kind of came to a total stop, which I'm sure a lot of people were in a similar situation with creative projects and work and whatnot. And so it got kind of quiet there for a few months. And, there was a part of me that was like, oh, well, this is it. Like, it's over. Like, we lost all of our momentum. We can't go to these festivals. People aren't going to see the movie. We're not going to get connected to distributors. And we were lucky enough to just kind of keep chipping away at it through emails and phone calls and connections and colleagues. And a colleague of ours, Kyle Greenberg, who works at Circle Collective, he's kind of like a festival marketing guy. He put us in touch with Kamikaze Dogfight, which is run by Andrew Van de Houten and Hans Soto. And they saw the film, and they had recently inked a deal with Gravitas for acquiring and distributing films. And we started talking to them, over the course of the quarantine and pandemic, and we ended up working out a partnership, and it just kind of ended up working out for us. But yeah, it was definitely strange and a little dark at times, and a little bit frustrating with just how everything was going. But I think everybody was in kind of the same boat, and I kind of view it as like, yeah, if you just kind of keep pushing away, things will turn around, and for us, they definitely did.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a real mixed bag. I mean, I've talked to a lot of indie filmmakers that were in your same situation, either about to go on the festival circuit or just started, and then everything happened. And so it seems like it's, that has been negative, but then you also get, kind of a more easily adoptable and kind of an audience willingness to go digital and to stream things now, because we kind of have to. So you get this kind of, hopefully it balances out. I'm not sure exactly, what's going to happen, but it does seem like people have become a lot more receptive to streaming things digitally, and it seems like digital distributors have kind of stepped up to fill that void, and you have a lot of large movies that were pushed back, so there's just not a ton of competition at this point. So
Yeah, there's a little bit of a vacuum right now. I mean, I think, there were still a decent number of bigger movies that came out kind of at the beginning, and then things have been kind of trickling out. But especially right now, like there's not a lot of stuff coming out. Things have just been pushed back an entire year, and nothing new has been made in the last 9 months. So we feel like, it maybe just kind of worked out for us, where there's a little bit more of a captive audience for VOD and streaming and things like that, and maybe our little movie can rise to the top a little bit and get people's attention, and people are willing to give it a chance because they're looking for something new to watch. And so that's kind of what we're hoping.
well, we'll see. Fingers crossed. It's like I said,
Yeah.
it's much more polished than I expected from a first-time director. It's got a really nice, kind of the style of the camera work, the kind of the colors that are in there. It just feels really, really kind of mysterious and well done.
I appreciate that.
So some of the most striking things, you've got these just empty places. Where did you find this town, and how did you kind of get, like, you have a bowling alley, you have a grocery store, you have a lot of places that just are abandoned. So where'd you kind of find this place?
Yeah, a lot of it was luck, or I don't know, just spending a lot of time in pre-production on location. We shot the film in upstate New York, kind of in the Hudson Valley. So Hudson, New York, Philmont, New York, Kingston, New York. And one of the big locations for us that was kind of the first shoe to drop was, I have some friends that live on a family farm, and it's about 500 acres of it's like its own little town. So it's got like 5 or 6 different houses. It's got farms and roads and hills. It's got 200 acres of forest. And we were able to secure that location for about 3 straight weeks and just have the run of the land. And so, about 60-70% of the movie was able to take place in this one place that we owned for 3 weeks. And then we would, pop over to a grocery store, pop over to a bowling alley, pop over to an auto shop. And those are really just about finding, finding the right location that fit what we were looking for. Like, I know for the bowling alley, for example, we went and saw a handful of bowling alleys, and we were in negotiations with a few of them. And then we found this one in Kingston that was basically like an old airport hangar that had been turned into a bowling alley. It was just absolutely massive. It had like 100 lanes, and it was just huge. And no one was there. I mean, they had like club night on Thursdays or something, and maybe people would come on Saturdays and Sundays, but for the rest of the week it was just kind of chilling, pretty empty. And it was just such a big space that it just worked absolutely perfectly for us, and kind of really sold that vibe, kind of echoing the exteriors of how big and empty everything is. And yeah, like grocery stores, we just kind of went around to the smaller, more mom and pop grocery stores, and we just have kind of one-on-one conversations with people. And we found one that was, willing to let us in and take the place over for about 24 hours. And we could kind of do what we wanted there. And that worked out. I think if you went and tried to go to a larger chain, you'd have to deal with all of that sort of stuff, and it probably wouldn't really work out. So yeah, it was about kind of finding those small businesses in and around the area that had the look we wanted, and just kind of making an appeal to them, saying, hey, like, we're trying to make this strange, cool indie film, and we'd love to shoot here, and we can make something work out.
Definitely. I would love to see you shut down a Safeway for 24 hours and see what that would be like.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
And one thing, this film has this kind of mysterious tone throughout, and it was really intriguing, and then it leaves a lot of mystery in the end, which to me is internally frustrating, but I also think it fits because you're an indie film. I liked that you didn't try to do too much, because sometimes you can have indie films that try to either have some effects that just kind of look off, or try to explain everything you don't need to. So I really liked that you kind of stayed mysterious, but is that kind of always the way it was written? Are there other cuts that maybe have some more either background material or explanation of what had happened?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and you're I think you're spot on there too. We had there's a lot of different versions of this movie that live at a lot of different budget levels. And but when we went into it and when we were launching into pre-production and kind of had locked in our production budget, we had to be very smart with the money that we had and what our constraints were. And so instead of trying to do things that we didn't think we'd necessarily be able to pull off in the level of quality that we wanted to, we had to get creative, and I think part of that too, it was also just inherent in the story for me. I didn't mind something that was a little bit more opaque, and I didn't mind something that didn't give the audience all of the answers. I think with a lot of the films in this kind of genre and this kind of world, so many times you see these last person alive movies and there's someone and he's a Marine and he's a biochemist and he's going to solve it and he's going to create the formula and he's going to figure out what happened. And that's what the movie is about, is like this person solving it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was much more interesting to take a movie like that and say, like, well, what if the last person alive can't solve it? And they frankly don't even, that's not their concern. They're much more, it's a much more introverted story about them and the things that they've lost. And this isn't a person who's going to fix anything. So, it's more about them trying to fix themselves in this situation. But we definitely had, some, we know what happened, or at least, we generally have kind of our thoughts that we went into it with, and there were moments of saying like, hey, do we need to show, we had talked about, hey, we should get some big aerial of downtown Albany, and then we'll have that be like our big VFX shot. We'll make everything look decrepit and run down and covered in moss, and or hey, we need to write in a scene here where he goes to the hydroelectric dam and pushes some buttons and the lights are able to stay on because he's keeping the dam alive or something. But ultimately for us, it just became about, and I some people may not like this, but for us it was, if those are the things you're focusing on, then I haven't done my job to keep you interested in the character and emotional part of the story. Like, I'm hoping that you watch the film and by the end you almost don't even care what happened. You're engrossed in this character and you're heartbroken for him and you're rooting for him, and that's more of your concern.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because if as you said, a lot of these end of the world movies, you've got them racing for a cure, and then they kind of discover it or synthesize it, and every time afterward, you're like, that's not how it would work. Like great, you have like one piece of this virus, but then all of a sudden, how are you going to distribute it? There's always these other issues.
We've seen that, we've seen that movie. It's kind of like pick your poison, right? It's like whatever you want it to have been here, this can be a spiritual sequel to any of those movies, or live in any of those universes. It's just not, it's not following the guy who's going to get the answer. It's following the guy who misses his girlfriend.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of interesting and something fresh and maybe something we hadn't seen before.
Definitely. And speaking of your girlfriend and the rest of the cast, this film is mostly focused on you. You're kind of the central focus point, but you did assemble a really great kind of supporting cast: Olivia Luccardi and Nore Davis, and the parents as well. So where did you find them? Was it just casting calls, or you worked with them before? It was it's kind of striking whenever you'd have another person in a scene, either a flashback or something else.
And so going into the script, knowing that it was primarily one character, we knew that we needed, when we did have other characters, we needed to have them be strong. We needed to bring in people who could really chew up a performance in those scenes. Olivia, I met through my partner, my girlfriend, they grew up together. She actually grew up here where we shot the film.
Oh, nice.
And I had met her a few times, and you know, obviously was a fan of hers, and a fan of her work, and It Follows and Orange is the New Black and The Deuce and stuff. And so it got to the point in kind of the script writing process where I kind of started writing that character for her, and then reached out to her and sent it to her, and she loved it, and she totally got it, and wanted to come aboard, which was awesome for us and kind of unlocked some other things for us, bringing her in. And then Nore was a recommendation from a producer and crew member of ours, Derek Brown, who's a director in his own right, who came aboard and worked on the movie. He had actually directed Nore's comedy special the year previously.
Oh, nice.
And so they knew each other, and we thought that was a really interesting cast, and to bring Nore on, who has kind of a different flavor, and he's a comedian, so he could add some levity to that part and to that role. But also, it being kind of his first dramatic role, he could get kind of show on screen him maybe being a little bit more serious too, which was something that he was interested in. And then the father of Kay, which you see in that dinner scene, was actually Tom Essig, our executive producer, who has a background in acting and used to be a stage actor kind of in a previous life. So we thought that fit for us. And then Bettina, who plays the mother, was a casting call we had in the region to play that character, and she fit, and she's a great working actress in the area and has been in a ton of stuff. So she was super professional, and yeah, it just kind of worked out. All those pieces kind of came together, and you know, again, it was just important for us when we see those scenes and when we meet those other people, it really needs to be you know, believable and at a high level. So
Yeah, no, definitely. There were nice touches to kind of sprinkle them throughout, because it kind of,
yeah,
you know, I don't want to say broke up the monotony, because that's the wrong word, but it kind of, you know, when you had someone else there, it made it, you know, kind of, you kind of
yeah.
jumped like, oh, someone, you know, where does this fit in the story?
And
So
that was part of it. It's like, where, you know, how long can you spend with just one person to it's good to sprinkle in these scenes of these other people? And that was kind of all by design. And it definitely was in a way to break up that monotony, you know. But for us, a level of monotony was something that we kind of had to embrace, because that was just kind of part of the story we were telling.
definitely. And going back to you, there's a scene where you're looking at like a baby, not a baby picture, like you as a young, you know, maybe like an older kid playing baseball, and you're in your baseball
Yeah.
uniform. Was that actually a picture of you? I was curious, or did you just
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was, I grew up in Portland, Oregon. And that was like my first grade baseball team in Park Rose, which my mom actually coached. And yeah, that's a real picture of me. There's a scene or two in there, sprinkled in there, where you see some younger pictures, and all of those are pictures of mine. My mom was nice enough to send those over while we were shooting, so we sprinkled them in throughout. But yeah, and that might have been like the last time I really ever played baseball. I'm actually not a huge baseball guy.
Oh, I was going to ask
Um,
about that later.
yeah, no, I played college basketball. I was much more of into basketball, but the whole baseball thing, it just kind of, I had a crazy dream one night about playing baseball on a baseball diamond with all my friends, and then like the camera of the dream pulled back, and it was just a pitching machine pitching at me. And I woke up kind of freaked out, and that was part of kind of the antithesis of the story, and it ended up just kind of being a through line for us in the film. But yeah.
Yeah, so you basically lived this movie kind of in your head as you were building it out. That's interesting.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it kind of came in a dream and then kind of spiraled from there. And I brought a lot of kind of personal elements and things that I was going through and thinking. And I do have a pretty like crazy visual like mind and memory, and I can kind of, part of the writing process for me is like I can kind of see every single scene in my head, and every conversation and every moment. And that's kind of part of the outlining process for me, is basically just seeing the whole movie from start to finish. in my head, and a lot of this stuff was from me in some way or another, and so yeah, it was definitely like a personal experience, and I was, in that world for quite a while, and seeing the movie, seeing how melancholy that can be, it definitely was not always the greatest place to be in your head for 3 years, but it worked out.
That's I guess that's how you make it, right? You gotta suffer through in your head, and then you make it for real, and you suffer through making it, and then you suffer through
Yeah,
distributing it, and now it's out in the world.
yeah,
The last thing I want to kind of touch on before I move to, I call it the lightning round. It's just kind of really short questions about the film.
yeah,
The music was really, it kind of was always there, and there were some fun songs and some really great kind of,
yeah.
atmospheric music. Who did that, and where did you find all this great music to kind of set the scene? Because you definitely needed some other sounds because this world was kind of so quiet. So it was a nice touch.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of really great comments on the music and the score and the sound design, which was a huge part of this for us, just because we knew that in kind of a quiet, empty world, those things would be highlighted. And so yeah, Evan Joseph and Luke Schwartz and Tom Essig actually did the original score for the film. Which was great. And Evan Joseph was also the sound designer for us. So he really kind of dove in, starting with the sound design, and kind of built the world sonically. And then him and his music partner were also composing original pieces. And then Tom, our executive producer, is also a musician. So he was grabbing scenes here and there too, and composing things for us, which was awesome. And then, yeah, there's a handful of scenes throughout the film that have kind of recognizable songs with lyrics from bands and musicians. And those were things, frankly, that I actually wrote into the script, which is usually like a really big no-no. But I use music and songs as like an inspiration point a lot of times for scenes. When I'm writing them and conceiving them, I usually have a song or two in my head that's like, this is what this sounds like for me, or like, here's a song that's exactly about the thing I'm trying to convey. So I'll usually write that into the script, where if someone's reading and following along, they can YouTube the song really quick and they can hear kind of what's in my head as the scene is playing.
Mhm.
And we were lucky enough, and I made some choices in there of songs and musicians and bands that I knew, friends of mine, or things that I thought we were attainable for us to get. And just kind of worked out, luckily, through that process of reaching out to them and getting the licensing for the songs, that they were all super agreeable and loved the movie and loved those scenes. And but yeah, some of those songs were like, it was the only choice. It was just the only option for me. And there's a few that didn't make it in, just because of maybe how big the band was, or how big the song is, or just other various things. And I think, coming from directing music videos, that's also just kind of part of my
Mhm.
creative process. It's
Yeah.
like, I can write a scene to a song like it's a music video. Like, that's just something I do every day. So that kind of helps me in my process too. And it adds, in the film, you have these moments, you'll have maybe 10 minutes where not a lot is happening and you're hearing the sounds and he's walking through the woods. And then you'll have a scene that's like tied together with this song, and it's kind of its own little vignette, its own little world. And that, I thought, was also kind of interesting, because it adds to like this oscillation and juxtaposition of pacing in the film.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the thought that you put into it. And I appreciate. I definitely appreciate the. You shouldn't write a song into a scene, because yeah, like you said, sometimes
Yeah.
then that's the only thing you can think of. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that
and you're
all.
not, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess traditionally you're not supposed to do that, because it's like the writer putting his imprint to whoever's going to direct or make the movie. Like, they don't want you to be that personal with the script, I guess. But I wrote it, and I got to a point where I knew I was going to direct it. So those were sorts of almost like notes for me in the script that allowed me to kind of conceive things better.
And Scott, shout out to Tom Essig, like producing, writing
I know, yeah,
music, started.
he's the real triple threat here. People keep saying it's me, but I've got this guy who helped us produce the movie, helped us fund the thing. He was calling in favors, getting locations, helping us do all sorts of stuff, and he acted in it, and he ended up scoring like 7 or 8 of the scenes, which are really, really incredible. So yeah, I mean, shout out to Tom. He's kind of an unsung hero, and that's kind of a theme of this film, at least making the movie. How many different people I was lucky enough to bring in that could do so many things. And people always ask like, oh, how was it to direct yourself, and how could you have done so many things? And the answer was like, well, I surrounded myself with all these other people that are also super talented. Frankie, the cinematographer, is a director and an incredible director in his own right. Derek Brown, a producer, camera operator, is a director in his own right. My producing partner Max is also a director and knows what he's doing. So if you just kind of put a bunch of people that are way smarter and more talented than you around you, usually things will work out.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. So now I want to move into, I call it the lightning round. It's just very short questions. If you got the time to answer a few.
Yeah, totally.
They're, it's completely voluntary. You can pass or answer, but I try to keep them very answerable to,
Cool.
just kind of see what events in the movie, how those, relate to you personally. So Adam, the character, wakes up very early to presumably keep his sense of normalcy. Do you wake up, at the crack of dawn every day?
No. I'm usually
now.
going to bed when Adam's waking up. So there was a little reversal there. Yeah, I'm a night owl.
Perfect. So you're the last person on Earth in this fictional world. What do you want to have?
What do I want to have?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. I guess a fire pit, a bottle of whiskey, and a couple of my favorite albums. That's probably enough.
It's a good way to, it's a good way to go out.
Yeah.
So if you were the last person on Earth, would you follow the rules of, past society, or would you just kind of go into chaos?
I would probably definitely, and I think through quarantine, this has become a little bit more real even for me. I probably, it would get a little bit more insular at the start for sure. But I think compared to Adam, at least, I'm a little bit more of a go-getter. I'd probably go out and try to figure some things out, and probably not succeed, but at least give that a try, because that, I'm kind of a fix it kind of guy. It would probably drive me crazy to not at least try to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see some light bulbs in your house. Are those traditional light bulbs, LED light bulbs, or CFL light bulbs?
These are LEDs. Yeah, trying to go energy efficient, unfortunately. But we have some. Yeah, we have some other more showpiece light fixtures that have Edison bulbs in them around the house, and that was something that I like personally, and we kind of added throughout the film as well. So
yeah, those are nice. It was kind of striking to see those, because you just don't see those types of light bulbs anymore. So
yeah, and that something like that was like, we wanted this element of timelessness wherever we could sprinkle it in the film. It's like you don't really know what year it is, and it's like there's some certain things that are a little bit more old-timey. We thought some of that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. How's your bowling game?
I am not half bad, and Adam says that in the bowling scene, that he's not, he's like, I ain't that bad, I'm not half bad at a bowler. Some of those strikes, I mean, that was me. I didn't have like some bowling stuntman coming in. I can hit some turkeys.
You're indie, you couldn't afford a bowling stuntman, so that's
and we actually, it's funny, we went back to that bowling alley for like a birthday party like a year later, and in that scene, there's an image of a bowling team that we cut to for like 1 second that has my face kind of photoshopped in it. And it's like, oh, this is the bowling team here. That picture is still there on the wall in the bowling alley. They think it's a real team, and it's not. It's a thing. So I'm part of the Kingston Patel's bowling team.
There you go. You're a champion right there.
That's right.
Have you ever been described as failing upward?
I feel that way. And that's part of the reason why I wrote that scene. I mean, that scene very much for me, and I don't, I think that scene lands with some people, and some people it's maybe a little too esoteric. But that scene for me was kind of having that conversation with Kyle, Nore Davis's character, which is really Adam having a conversation with himself, is really me having a conversation with myself. And there's a lot in there that I think about.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot, and I liked that line, and yeah, again, I really liked having Nore Davis in there. You're exactly as you said. He kind of added some levity and added just kind of a different kind of texture to the dialogue and whatnot.
And that was something that, and yeah, it's like I feel like I wrote that character a certain way, and it on the page it was a certain kind of person that none of us were really sold on. Like, yeah, this works as this guy, but it is what it is. And then yeah, casting Nore, it's like he really brought this other thing that I almost feel like I couldn't have written, that ended up just working so well.
Awesome. So have you ever had like a major goal in life, and then when you finally achieved it, you just kind of nothing really happened? You kind of you got it, and then nothing happened.
I'm kind of
oh, no, that's a bad question
right
for
now. Right. Yeah, I can't tell you how on the nose. I'm going through that right now and trying to stay. I'm a very cynical person by nature, and like a very pessimistic person. And I'm trying. It's like I spent like 3 years of my life making this thing, and the ups and downs and setbacks and successes, and here we are, and it's coming out, and people are reviewing it, and they're being super flattering and saying really nice things, and I'm trying to just live in it and be appreciative, and so yeah, I'm kind of in that right now, and having that kind of internal battle of trying to rage against that.
Oh. Sorry for that's a very good answer for a very poorly timed question.
No, yeah, no, you read me like a book.
Are you more of a kind of a extrovert or a wallflower? Sounds like you're somewhere in between. Like it's kind of, I can't really tell.
I would say in general, compared to Adam, I'm much more of an extrovert, which was kind of the fun in writing this character. I mean, I'm much more like when I was writing the scene with Adam and Kay at the bar. One of the things that kind of unlocked it for me was my girlfriend actually saying, and she's much more introverted. She's, quiet and very artsy. And, she said, hey, why don't you try writing the scene where Kay is like you and Adam is like me, referring to herself. Mm-hmm. And that was something that kind of unlocked that moment for me, and kind of a good comparison. So like I'm a little bit more like Kay in real life. I've definitely kind of chilled out as I've gotten older, but I was like the class clown and the guy yelling at the bar, and yeah, so
well, always fun to explore other sides of your personality.
Yeah, and this is like the project of kind of trying to dive in and find those other parts of me, and through all this I'm definitely came out the other end a lot more like Adam than I was going in.
Awesome. Have you ever had a car just die on you, either lack of gas or a part failing or anything like that?
Yeah. In high school, definitely went through a handful of beater cars. I remember driving down the road one time and just like the fan belt just snapped, and like that controlled the power steering of my car. And so just like there was no more power steering, and I had never driven a car that didn't have power steering. So I'm like driving at like 40 miles an hour, like trying to turn the wheel to pull over. So I've had a few of those experiences, and that in that car in the movie was actually a vehicle of mine at the time, this Volvo that would the battery would die like every 2 weeks if you
Oh
just
wow.
like didn't drive it. So that car specifically was like that as well. So
So
that came from
again, real life imitates the movie.
a real place. Yeah.
Have you ever had something blow up on you?
Like an actual explosive,
It could be explosive. It could. I
or
mean, my example would be like,
metaphorically.
one time I was messing around with a socket and I turned the power back on and I wired it incorrectly, and there was definitely a very large spark. But
Yeah,
up
I've
to
had
you.
a few of those. Even back to cars, and that Volvo. I tried to jumpstart that Volvo one time, and there was like a big random fireball came out I was like, I think I had done the order of jump starting wrong, where I put the cables on the wrong thing in the
Mhm.
wrong order, and I like created like a mini explosion. Um, uh, and metaphorically, things blow up in my face all the time.
And then
Put my
there
foot in
was
my
a
mouth.
real life example. And that
Yeah.
actually might answer this next question. Other than things in this film, what's the largest thing that you've burned? Maybe it's that Volvo.
Yeah. The largest thing that I've burned. I do a lot of big bonfires in my backyard. We live upstate now, and lucky enough to have a piece of property with a nice fire pit in the back, and old Christmas trees. If you like have them in your yard for like 4 months and they get super dried out, they go up in like 2 seconds, and they end up creating kind of a nice big crazy fire situation. And then yeah, again, metaphorically, yeah, I'm sure I've burned some things down. Maybe some previous jobs or previous relationships, unfortunately.
Well, I think that's something that we all kind of do and learn from. So,
Yeah.
but some people don't think about it. So it's good that you're thinking about it. And the last question is, now that the film is being released, and you're presumably promoting it, what's next for you? Do you have anything else on the horizon? Any other, writing or films kind of planned?
Yeah, I have a few projects I'm working on and things that I'm developing. One I'm really excited about is called California City is the working title, and it's about a person kind of digs themselves out of the sand in the middle of the desert on the edge of this ghost town, and they're covered in kind of these strange markings, and they don't know who they are or how they got there, and they kind of go into town and start exploring the town, and realizing that things in the town may not be what they seem, and they may be a little bit more nefarious and connected to this person's identity than maybe we originally thought. So I'm working on that, and I'm excited about that. And through this process, I'm hoping that people see the movie and they're like, "Hey, that was great. I'd love to help this guy make another one." And that would be the one. So hopefully that those kinds of conversations start to happen more and more.
Fingers crossed. I hope so too, and I'm excited to see how this film fits into the Go Don't Go cinematic universe, because it sounds like
Yeah.
they could all be related in different geographical areas.
It's got a similar tone and a similar vibe, and I'm trying to the hope would be that it's a bigger production, and obviously a little bit faster paced, a little bit more action, a little bit more commercial, a little bit more marketable, but still a similar tone and vibe, and visual styling, and dealing with some things that I've been thinking about, and some stuff that I think is interesting. And
Awesome. That sounds good. So you can check out Go Don't Go on January 12th, 2021. It's coming out digitally, so you can watch it on pretty much any platform. This is Alex Knapp. How can people find you? Twitter, Instagram, any of those, or just go to the movie webpage?
yeah, I'm on Instagram as just Alex Knapp. I joined early, so I just got lucked out with my full name.
Amazing.
And that's like the platform that I'm on all the time, and kind of what I use the most. People can also search me on Facebook, Alex Knapp. And then the film's website is Go Don't Go Film, or sorry, what is it? Go Don't
Go Don't
Go
Go.
dot film.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for
Yeah.
talking about the film, and everyone can check it out starting tomorrow, or when this posts, you can check it out right now. So
Great. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
thank you. Take care.
Cool. Cheers.
That was Alex Knapp from Go Don't Go. It's available on January 12th, 2021. We're in 2021 now, on digitally, so you can watch it pretty much anywhere. You could even archive it for our eventual end of the world and watch it to prepare. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot and make sure all of our new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.